All right.
And now we're on.
Now we're rolling. All right. Welcome back to the Hunt Hike. What are we doing here? The Hunt Hike Car. I got to get that out of my mouth.
It's his
Hunt
first timer.
Hike. I haven't hosted in a while.
Yeah, that's because
That's because I'm not here.
Yeah, you're not
that's
here.
True. I'm. What was I doing last time?
I think it was Cutco.
I was getting my knife sharp.
Yeah, if you watch our last episode,
Yes.
I gave a full report on that.
You have Cutco knives?
I don't.
They're nice.
Some of those.
They're lifetime warranty.
Yeah.
Some gal showed up to my house and just sharpened them. It was nice.
Oh, you know what? Actually, I do have one. My neighbor gave me one.
Yeah, they're forever. So if you own it and it goes dull, just call them up. They'll come sharpen it for you.
Yeah, he told me the same thing.
Yeah,
He's like,
it's amazing.
You don't even need to buy it.
That's right.
Sweet.
Whoever it goes to. All right. We are here with my buddy Chris Watts from Western Heritage Hunt Club, along with other projects. It's not your normal day job, but
Nope.
you would like it to be, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
And so the irony is that today Facebook memory popped up, and it was our very first hunting trip that you ever took me on. This was like my inauguration into the hunting world.
Yep.
We were up in actually up by where we normally bow hunt.
Yeah.
Up in the Dunkley Flat Tops area, and the pictures of us sitting there looking for. I was looking at the captions. It said, "Sitting in the blind, no elk." Right? It was like, "Hey, here's a lake,
So-
no elk here either." It was like everywhere it was no elk. So
Yeah.
I got indoctrinated into. You're just not going to roll up and find these things.
That's
right?
the typical elk hunter.
Right.
Yeah, especially standard flat tops hunting. which
Yeah.
is
It's not like you're just out in the open.
You
just
and a
running
couple
around.
hundred of your closest friends that are up there
all wearing orange
at the same time.
Yep.
But that was like I can't thank you enough for getting me into that. Well, maybe I can. Maybe I should curse you for getting me into this because I've spent how many thousands of dollars on gear and
You'll
guns
never
and
get
bows.
back.
No.
I would say, got it.
But I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your life to take me up there and experience that. We talked about this on the phone the other day, and just how you enjoy just being out with other hunters. And you were just out with your cousin on a big early rifle hunt, and you bagged a giant freaking elk, and you're heading out Thursday to. Are you hunting by yourself, or
No,
are you going with somebody?
My dad's driving in from Pennsylvania, so we're going out just for cows this time.
Okay.
So, and then
but this is for you, not for somebody
this one's
else.
for me.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
All right.
and I went on an early muzzleloader hunt earlier this year for a cow, and just wasn't successful in typical, OTC unit in
Right.
Colorado. See
Right.
a bunch of people.
I said you and hundreds of your other friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Exactly.
So tell me, we ran into you. I haven't seen you in forever, right? And so we are at the Outdoorsman Expo.
Yep.
And we're just rolling around. And I think I had seen you post something on your social feeds that you were there. And I was like, well, shoot, let's go find Chris.
Yeah.
And we roll up there and you're sitting at this booth that says Western Heritage Hunt Club. And I remember that you were part of another hunt club, and you kind of gave me the backstory about how it all came to fruition. So give me a little bit about kind of once we departed from, that trip 7 years ago to where you are today.
Yeah. So I'll start it with, the one, I love public land, but when it comes to waterfowl hunting, public land is almost impossible.
It's terrible.
I mean, when I was a younger man by myself hunting, I can disappear into pretty much nowhere and carry a bag of decoys and be fine.
Right.
But when you have a family, a wife, kids, and that's what really pushed me over the top to join that original club. And it was, we were out on SWA and, on the Platte, Eastern Colorado. And
Did you make a reservation?
I had my reservation. my fellow hunting member did not.
Yeah.
Word to the wise.
Yes.
That's another story.
Make sure you get that reservation.
Yeah. Well, and there are some that need that.
Yeah, we found out the hard way.
So, but this one, this SWA did not require a reservation. So we get there and the kid's in the car sleeping. I think he was 11 at that time.
Right.
Just wanted to go out and see what this duck hunting was all about. And we get set up and there's, I build a blind and he gets done eating his milk and donuts that we bought on the way. And we're out there and 5 minutes before shooting light, here comes Mr. Truck sliding into the parking spot because he's driving that fast.
Right.
Blows up the ducks that are now sitting in our spread. And and it ends up setting up 75 yards directly in front of us where either one of us shoots, we're sending pellets towards.
Was he aware that you were there?
Yeah,
Oh.
I did the typical, flash them with a flashlight,
Right.
and they flashed me back and walked 5 yards from where we were sitting. Everything an ethical hunter would not do.
Sure.
So I went home and I talked to my wife and I said, if we're going to get the kids into this, which is a big thing that you kind of alluded to that I love already, is getting new people into hunting, whether
Right.
it be waterfowl, big game, small game, or anything in between. And you kind of asked me when we talked about my son's cow hunt,
Mm-hmm.
how do you get your kid to do this? And that's a tough one, and that's where I went, okay, as a man hunting on my own, I can do this. I can get away from these other guys that are doing this stuff.
Right.
But when I have my family with me, that's a different story.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't blow them up walking into a duck spot in negative 20-degree weather like you and I normally would.
Right.
So that's, so I joined a club, and then from there we evolved into let's get some land, let's lease some land. And last year I took 5 people out with me, and it's, and got them their first goose. It was this kid, it was the highlight of his year. I mean, he shot that goose and he was just on cloud 9. And that feeling right there is why we have this club and why I chose to step away from public land for certain things.
Right.
Sure.
But I'll still hit that public land for the right hunt like I will this weekend.
So where are your properties? I mean, obviously we're in Colorado,
Yep.
and so I'm assuming you have those, but you have some in other states as well.
Yeah, so we cover 2 states right now. We have property in Wiggins, Colorado. So we got a couple goose fields and a small water property out there.
I saw the pits. You guys built pits out there? Is that right? Nice.
So we have pits. Everything in Colorado has pits. And that's another thing. Pits aren't easy to build, and they're not cheap to build.
No.
It's easier to say, a club that I've been in is, it's go get your layout blind and lay in a field.
Right.
Well, you put a 12-year-old in a field in a layout blind at 20 degrees and tell me how long you're going to stay in that field.
Yeah.
You just set up decoys and tore them back down. That's exactly what it is. Exactly. So, so we go over that. We have 6-man pits, and we, like my buddy last year, his she's 5 now. And he's like, I just want to take her out. I don't want anybody with us. I said, that's cool. And we get requests like that all the time where dad just wants their kid out there. And we let them have that pit to themselves that day. And we have the ability to do that because we have enough land for that. So
you're using a reservation system then as well.
Absolutely.
So we're making a tea time for the pit.
Tea time for the pit. Yeah. But once you're there, it's yours. I mean, if you want it all day long, that's your property. So you pay your membership fees up front. You're covered with insurance if something would happen, to the farmer's property.
Right.
And you go out and you hunt, and everything's there for you. All you got to do is take your decoys out, set them up, jump in the hole, and leave when you're done.
Nice. So I was going somewhere now. I'm totally blanking on it. So you've got these property. Are you looking to expand to other states or other properties? I mean, we've talked about waterfowl, but are we getting into deer? Are we getting into elk? Are we getting into bear, moose? Like what are the next steps, I guess, for you guys?
Yeah. I mean, the ultimate goal would be, a full encompassing hunt club where you can come in and say, hey, I want to hunt elk this year. And we have the correct property for you to get to. We are looking at expanding, but a lot of that property requires not a couple acres, but thousands of acres. So there's a huge financial burden to that. So right now we're strictly just waterfowl, ducks, geese, sandhills, all that kind of stuff. And then I'll come back to the second part of the question you asked about our other properties. So right now we're waterfowl only, but our next step is probably going to be turkey and small game. And then from there start stepping into some big game properties.
Nice.
Especially on the Eastern Plains, because we know how difficult those pronghorn properties are, hard to come by and things like that.
So are you buying the property, or you go on to like Mr. Farmer's door and go, hey, my name's Chris and I'm with this hunt club and we want to rent your property for the season?
The latter of the two. I mean, we can't afford to buy it. You know, obviously if I won the Powerball right now and had 620 million in my pocket, it'd be a different story. But
about half that after taxes, but
yeah. But no, we go up, we lease. So we ran into one farmer. We were actually on a private elk hunt, and his neighbor, who's a taxidermist, was like, "Hey, you need to talk to our buddy in Julesburg."
Right.
So we have that property under lease. So there's 4 fields there, right on the Nebraska border, right off the Platte River. Super awesome waterfowl spot. So yeah, and I've knocked on doors and we've had farmers answer us in their underwear, and fortunately no guns pulled on us yet.
That's always
but
good.
I have had that. I have heard of that happening to other club owners that I'm in connection with.
So when you're talking to these landowners, are you going, hey, we want to rent it out for the entire season? Like, you know, we're going to take opener of ducks to the end of ducks. Or are you saying, hey, we want access to it, you know, 3 weeks out of the month or 2 weeks out of the month, or how does that typically work? So
that's a great question. We actually lease year round. So like our the property I forgot to tell you about near Hawk Springs, Wyoming, 160 acre lake up there with about 1,500 acres of property. You can go out and camp on that in the summer with your family, go fishing in the lake.
As part of being in this club.
Yeah. So it's not, you know, there's camping opportunities. Our Julesburg property, you can take a trailer out there, camp with the family, walk across the road, because you camp in Nebraska, you walk across the road and you're in Colorado hunting. So it's a great opportunity for families in that way.
Well, it makes it a lot easier too if I don't have to get up at the butt crack of dawn to drive an hour and a half to get to my property. I can just camp out in the camper or the tent or whatever it is, wake up when I need to wake up and walk out to the property.
And we've gone as far as set up our decoys the night before and literally wake up as the sun's coming up, walk across the field, cook breakfast in the pit. We'll take, you know, a frying pan, bacon, eggs, and that's an enjoyable hunt.
Why can't we do that?
You have no idea how many times I've shown him or talked to him about like how I grew up, which is that, right? Where you've got pits that are the size of this
glamping hunting
that are the size of this room that have, you know, like propane lined into them and all these other things. And like I've hunted where we had a full kitchen in there with running water, fluorescent lights, heated
satellite with the football game on.
I do. Well, Caldwell, my buddy Caldwell, the pit that we used to hunt out of, in Nebraska, Vern, who used to own that property, he used to line DirecTV into his pit so he could watch Husker football games on Saturdays.
There you go.
I've seen how the other half lives, and he always says, when are we going to do this?
Yeah, because whenever we go duck hunting, we're standing in reeds that are 10 feet tall. It's -10 out. I'm shivering my butt off.
But you're getting seasoned.
I understand.
Appreciation for all this.
When do I get into the damn pit? That's really nice.
So Jordan, who's one of our future guests, was out getting pits ready in Western Nebraska on Sunday. So we're getting.
Is that on the calendar yet? I haven't got a calendar invite.
We'll get there, and then I mean, you know, we've got our current and present company here that, you know, sounds like he's got the capability to maybe.
I know. I'm looking forward to this, like, hunting where I can just relax a little bit.
Well, I think we need to make that happen.
Yeah,
this year, Jason.
I think so. Like, what does your schedule look like?
Why don't we?
I'm pretty sure Geese opens next week.
Yeah, Monday. Monday.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. So we could just carry this stuff out. We just do this in the pit.
Let's just do that.
now we got a plan,
right? Podcast.
Yeah. Who's bringing the bacon? That's all I'm saying. Like,
you are.
All right, I'm in. Sign me up. You have like a little camp chef that you keep out there?
I normally take one.
You have a full kitchen set up in there, like
I do in my trailer that I haul around. Right. So you know, I want to buy one of those dual burner ovens so I can do, you know, like
carry that thing in there.
Do the whole thing.
It makes it bake. Yeah. I'm gonna make some cookies here while we're waiting for the ducks to come in.
A little celebratory cookie or some muffins.
You betcha.
I guess we don't have to worry about scent, right? They're not smelling it as they're coming in.
It's a little different game.
Hey, if they smell it by the time we shot way too late.
Yeah, I know. We've done that before.
Oh yeah.
We've waited till they've landed in the decoys before we're like, oh look, there's a bird in there.
Yeah, I shot a speckled belly goose out of out of one of our fields that way last year. Yeah, I mean, we're just sitting there, and it was so cold and miserable. I looked at my buddy. I said, "Dude, let's just close the lids. Let's keep them open a crack." And I looked up, and I just saw 2 speck bellies just hovering right over me, and I'm like, "Specks." He goes, "What are those?" I said, Let's kill them, and then I'll tell you."
Yeah.
So I said, "They're going to land," because it was one of the worst snow days we had in Colorado last year.
Right.
And I popped up, and right behind me, they're landing. I shot it. My dog brings it to me. It was a banded speckled belly.
First, awesome.
First spec and first band ever in the same.
I think I saw you posted that on your on your Facebook page.
Yeah, I think there's pictures on it.
That's
Facebook.
A pretty bird.
Yeah.
That's a really pretty bird.
Yeah. Then they get into Colorado a little bit, but not as often as people would want them to be.
Was that one in Colorado or was that one in Wyoming?
That was Colorado.
That was Colorado.
Yep, that was the Wiggins properties.
Nice.
So out from where you're from, California, their specs are huge out there.
Yeah. Well, they don't let you hunt anything out there, so they got to come over here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's quite a journey.
Yeah. So talk a little bit. So your properties, you have a few of them, 3 that you mentioned, and kind of setting the table for all that. Like, I know one of the big things that we see in talking about like public hunting, right? Which we kind of I perused yesterday because I'm like, when are we going out again? He's like, I don't know, like let's check around. So of course, I go into CPW and I look at like, the online stuff and look at check-ins and all this other stuff to see what's available, right? And I think one of the things that everyone runs into in hunting SWAs and things like that is just that they're just overhunted, right? And not only that, due to that fact, then you have guys that what I would call like, to be cordial, unethically hunting, meaning that they're shooting at anything that's even remotely in range. And then you just run into issues where birds are just not going to decoy. And not only that, like we've hunted numerous times on those properties where it's not even necessarily about getting them to decoy. They're going to fly by at like 800 feet high and never even like, you could be the best caller in the world. They're not stopping. They're not looking twice.
A tornado of geese like a mile away that you can see. There's hundreds of thousands of them, and they just
And so it's an unfortunate situation where like I think as hunters we encourage people. We want them to get out. You want them to enjoy the experience, and then there's guys that obviously want more than that, right? And people that ultimately want to fill bag limits and want opportunities and things like that, want to share it with like maybe their kids and those types of things. So when you look at your like club, for example, what are things that you guys do or are doing to try and like not eliminate, but limit some of those types of situations with reservation? And like, how do you guys mitigate like usage and frequency? And I know you mentioned like, bringing your own decoys, which sounds like that's, if you're going to hunt, like, unfortunately, decoys are not cheap.
Right.
And so not that you have to have 100 decoys, but, that's part of the game. So talk a little bit about what you guys do or like maybe like policy that you guys have within the club or vision as far as that, so that the experience is better.
Yeah, absolutely. And that right there is what we strive to have an A+ score on in our club. And to me, that starts with the amount of property that you have accessible and the number of members that you have.
Right.
There's, how should I word this? I don't want to throw anybody under the bus.
Do it. Do it.
There are clubs in this country that their number one goal is members.
He's talking about Colorado.
And all they want,
because I've looked at them.
Yeah. And they just want more and more members. And they're not aware of how many members are stepping foot onto those properties.
Right.
Okay. And you end up out there, like you were saying, Joel, and it ends up looking like a public hunt on your private property.
Sure.
And I've been part of that. And that's where we strive to be number one, is we want to pay a little bit more for the land, which is a huge risk for us to take as owners.
For sure.
Because all of that has to come up front before we start taking members in.
There's no guarantee on your end.
Not at all.
Right.
I mean, and that's the scary part with all of this. So we took this huge property on in Wyoming this year. last year we had 13 members and we had the 7 properties in Colorado. And it was great. We killed a lot of geese. There were guys killing snow geese, specks, ducks all year long and having a great time. But to answer your second part of that is, how do we keep that? How do we make sure that things aren't overhunted? And that goes back to, do I have enough land for my members?
Mm-hmm.
So right now I have 4 and then 7. So I have 7 pits at 6 people per pit. That's 42 spots to sit.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We're sitting at about 10 members and we're capping at 25 this year. So I have enough pits to hunt over 40 guys and we're capping our club at 20.
Sure.
So I could literally take the groups that we have and spread them out into their own pits with
Right.
their own and you know, we have a family membership it's a little bit more expensive than an individual membership. And I've had a couple, you know, waterfowlers go, well, that's not right. And I said, well, it's my club. I can do it the way I want it. I want the families out here. So if a family asks me, hey, I want this pit
Mm-hmm.
because I want to take my kid out and shoot geese, I may even go, hey, you don't want that pit today.
Right.
You want
Right.
this pit.
Sure.
And I've done that more than once with our members last year. You know, they put in a reservation because we're not doing an electronic reservation that sends it out at the end. I send it out. So before I send that out to member number 2,
Right.
and I'm going to call him and say, hey, you know, this field was hunting pretty good about 2 days ago. Are you sure you don't want to slide over there?
Right.
And I did that with a guy last year. He went out on his own, did a solo goose hunt, killed his limit in 10 minutes and was back home. And he called me up. He goes, Chris, I just got to thank you. I'm like, what? He's like, that was a 10-minute goose hunt. He goes, that's something I've been striving to have my entire career. And he goes, I went, you know, if I would have went to the other field, it may have happened or it may not have.
Sure.
But with the information you gave me, because you're not afraid to give information out,
Right.
I was successful. So, and then the other side to that is we had a field last year. It was hot. I mean, it was like every time somebody went to that field, birds were falling.
Right.
And they crushed a ton of snows there on like a Friday and then a Saturday. And somebody wanted to hunt it Sunday. And I was like, we're going to rest that.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was a high producing field and our members knew it, but I didn't let it get over hunted.
Right.
Simply because I didn't want the birds jumping into the next field that was a different club.
Who are
Right.
you relying on to get the information about your properties? Are you getting the information from the landowners? Or are you getting information from your members, or D, all of the above?
D, all the above. I mean, I spend a lot of time driving once big game ends in Colorado, then I kind of free up and start waterfowling. And I will put in hundreds to thousands of miles in a weekend driving to check out the properties, scout them, you know, see what the weather's doing, watch birds, how they're moving, and how that weather changes those birds. Because that to me is the hardest part about bird hunting is,
Right.
you know, we'd all love to go out on that bluebird 70-degree day and smoke a limit, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
But it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I'll do footwork for our members,
Mhm.
you know, and plus I'm hunting.
Right.
So when I'm hunting, I'm scouting for
Sure.
my members as well.
Right.
So
So
and
it's a
then
dual purpose.
it is a dual purpose.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of selfishness.
Like, hey,
there,
honey, I
but
got to go to work.
I got to go to work, quote
That's it.
unquote. Yeah, absolutely. Then, you know, I will ask the members for feedback. You know, I'm not going to go, like, if they're doing well, I'm not going to go blow it up. But again, you know, if 25 members total,
Mm-hmm.
that's a 6-man pit. You can take a quarter of our membership and put it in one pit.
Right.
And that to me is what our members love, because we don't want to go out and set up 1,000 decoys by ourselves.
Right.
We
Right.
set up 1,000 decoys with 6 guys, kill our full limit of birds, and then go home.
Right.
So
So is that something that you guys, so when you're talking about, you know, you put 6 guys in a pit.
Yep.
If there were like 6 random dudes and like members 1 through 6 said, hey, we all want to hunt this pit, would you be like, all right, you and 5 others got it this week?
How it works is the first person to get so it's first come, first serve on the reservation system. You put in a Google Doc, send it to me, and then at 7 p.m. that night, I go through them. So whoever's came in first has primary goal in that pit.
Sure.
So So say, Jason, you're the pit leader now.
Mhm.
Now I'll call you and I'll say, hey, Joel maybe wants to come hunting. Do you guys want to hunt together? And
Right.
you're like, okay, yeah, 2 guys sounds
Yeah,
good.
screw that guy.
But then maybe there's another guy, that you've hunted with and you just don't like their hunting strategy.
Right.
I'll say, hey, do you want to hunt with, Mr. Smith? And you're like, I'm good,
Yeah.
Well, then I'll move Mr. Smith to his second choice reservation. So when
Gotcha.
you put in your reservations, you give me your top 3.
Okay.
So, and if I can give you, and last year we only had one membership or one reservation out of 50 reservations all last year not get their top choice of property. So, I mean, people are hunting where they want to hunt
Yeah.
99% of the time.
Right. I mean,
Sounds like a pretty damn good deal.
yeah. I mean, I'm ready. So
What are you doing this weekend?
yeah,
Hunting elk.
That's right.
That's
You're
right.
coming to pack out, right?
Yeah. Call me. I'm good. I
mean, we
got a
could-
clean bag.
Hey, we can help him work. We'll go.
Yeah,
do
I
a
can go
quick-
scout your properties for
do
you
a
if
quick-
you want.
Deal.
I'm
Quick
happy
run
to go
through
give you a report.
Yeah, I mean, the
It's cold front
SWAs are.
moving in, so
SWAs
they might be
are
moving
full.
around.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the other part of what inevitably becomes, I think, part of this whole game is. So you have your members, you have reservations, you bring your own decoys, so on and so forth. Does your club offer, or do you personally do any guiding out of there?
Currently, no. And the reason we don't is there are clubs that do guide over their properties, and I have heard nothing but complaints from their members. I went to get this membership or this property, and I found out it was reserved by the guides of that club that day. So we're kind of staying away from that. Now, the guiding in Colorado is kind of a weird one, because if I take you guys out and you buy me a water that morning and we use my decoys, that's technically payment to me, and now I'm guiding you.
Yeah.
I'm not a guide, I'm an owner.
Sure.
So we're out hunting as friends. We're out, and whenever I take anybody out, I'm not getting any reimbursement towards me personally. Any reimbursement I get comes to the club, and that's their membership dues that are up front that pay for access to the property year round. And we'll get. I'll touch on the cost of that too.
Then let's just say Joel and I want to go hunt one of your properties.
Yep.
We're members. We don't got any decoys. Do you guys rent them out? Can we borrow them? Like, does the club own? Is there a lockbox on site where it's got a bunch of decoys in it? Like, how does that work?
And
It does work at all.
And that's the iffy part, because in Colorado, technically, if I loan you decoys, I have now been a guide for you.
Gotcha.
So I am probably in the next couple of months here, I am looking to get my guide license simply for a CYA.
Right.
So I take somebody out on their first goose hunt. I'm not looking to get a dime out of somebody killing their first goose other than their membership to pay for the leases.
Sure.
That money that people pay to guide, that's not what I'm looking for.
By virtue of them paying you to go onto that property, that doesn't make you a guide.
Correct. Because
But
they're
if you
paying
loan them an object to help them hunt, you're now guiding them.
Correct. So there's a really fine
Let's just
gray
say, that
line
sounds like
there.
a razor's edge there.
Slippery
Yeah.
slope there.
So what if you left a box of decoys in the pit that is included as part of their membership?
That could be something that could be worked in if we would do something like that up front, and leave like a dozen decoys in every pit.
Right.
Then as your membership, and I've even been told that providing blinds like pits
Is guiding.
can even be a gray line, because you're providing a hunting location.
Right.
So we say we are providing access to that hunting.
So you got to use the right
location.
verbic.
Correct.
So
Sounds like we need to get
interesting stuff.
CPW on the horn and
It
figure
sound-
out what all this is
yeah.
about.
It sounds
Because
like
it sounds like somebody abused this years ago, and this is why we have a rule now.
Yeah.
I've been guiding for years. It sounds like.
Well, and that's why I want to just grab that guide license, because I've been told if you have the right CPW officer
Right.
that's not having the greatest of days, you may get dinged on it.
Mhm.
Others may go, "Hey, great job! You took a youth out and killed their first goose
Right.
today." So it just, and it's the same thing with any police. We know how it goes.
Sure.
It just depends on the mood of
Yeah.
that day. and what line are you on? Where
Right.
and I just want to make sure that we're on the right side of the line at
Sure.
all times.
Sure.
So is it just, so how many people are the owners? Is it just you, or do you have business partners?
So it's a family that I got in with. They're actually, there's three of them. They're two vets. Him and his wife are veterans of the Air Force.
Okay.
And they live in Alaska right now. So they just bought a lodge in Alaska. And then
So
there's
that's where the next hunting property is going to be, in Alaska.
we're working on it.
Bear and moose, here we come. So then,
a guide I can get you in hands with.
yeah. So then, all right. So you're we'll call it the property manager
Yep.
for these 6 properties,
Yep.
right? So it's just you.
Yep.
So you're the only one who technically needs to get this guiding license. Right?
Correct.
So nobody else needs to jump in on the
Yep.
guiding world.
Yeah,
license.
they're all basically, financial backing, things like
Right,
that.
okay.
Help me out when they get back from Alaska, they'll be helping me out digging pits and things
Right.
like that. But for the most part, it's me that, I'm vice president of operations. I run everything on the hunting side. So a member has an issue in the field at 6:30 in the morning.
Guess who
They're
gets the
calling
phone
you.
call?
I'm getting the phone call, and I've had it, and it can be really obnoxious. You're
Right.
sitting out there hunting on your own and dealing with a situation on a property for an hour, and
Right.
the guys are shooting geese next to you, and you're on the phone. But
Right.
it's a part of it.
So does that mean your
Joys of
phone's on the
ownership.
hook when you're going out this weekend?
Actually, I'll put the other. I'll let the other owner know, and then
Okay.
he'll take care of any situations that we have.
Go to the call center.
Yep.
Deal with the
Yep.
call center.
Send it to the call center.
Nice.
Well,
So-
it sounds like it's a very well thought out, right? Obviously, you've learned from what you've perceived as mistakes in these other clubs
Yep.
that you've been a part of.
and good things.
Right,
I
right.
mean, there's a lot of quality stuff out there, and whenever any business, I think you got to look at the goods and the bads of other businesses
Right.
doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So
So what's your primary way of letting people know, outside of doing little podcasts like this and Facebook or whatever and go with Sportsman Show?
Yep.
How are you getting, I mean, I guess, do you really want to get the Western Heritage Hunt Club name out there where you've got like a waiting list of people who want to join? I mean, how are you trying to drive membership?
that's the hard part right now, and it started at the show at the Sportsman's Expo. I was actually on the KLZ radio with Scott Watley and the Colorado Outdoorsman show.
Mhm.
So we do a lot of local stuff and then I do the Instagrams. Like you can find us at it's at whhuntclub.com on Instagram. We're also on Facebook
We're all going to follow. You just got 2 new followers.
Sweet. We're not on Twitter. Eventually, probably get there, but we're on Instagram. and
Instagram is
Facebook.
better for videos and pictures
Yeah.
anyway.
So you
Twitter's where people sling mud and the worst of humanity comes out.
yeah, and we do a lot of communications through Facebooks. We're going to start doing building mailers and emails. We want it to be personal information and not just this general stuff coming out to everybody.
Right.
So we're trying to personalize it and keep it really directed. Towards our ultimate goal. And we've done some Facebook, like sponsorships and stuff like
Right.
that. And some of the local newspapers, like we've hit the Fence Post and a couple of the Wyoming newspapers to get out up there.
Right.
But that property up there is going to be vacant because we only have one member in Wyoming right now. And he's going to be sitting up there hunting
All by
15
himself.
acres, 1,500 acres all by himself.
How far is it from here?
It's like 2 hours from Denver, just south of Torrington.
It's not.
Yeah.
any
We could do
further.
that.
Yeah,
So
What are you doing this weekend?
absolutely nothing.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll go check it out for you.
Yeah, let
Make
me know.
sure it's still there.
So, and the membership fee is kind of the hard part. Like, and people say, well, you're on the high end. We are, but we have really good property. Really good property.
Oh, wait. I mean, if you think about it, because I've looked at your prices online, and if you think about the amount of opportunity that you get, like even if we were going to go play 18 holes of golf, right? Like the 3 of us,
Mhm.
right? How much would we pay at a good, good public course around here, right? Maybe $80,
Yeah.
and let's say we
Probably
play,
more than
So let's say you play, I don't know, 7, 8, 10 rounds a year, right? You're not that far off of where it would be to go hunt and do exactly the same
Yep.
thing, but you can do it with your buddy or with your family, right? And not only that, but you actually get to keep what you shoot.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like I go to the golf course and I lose golf balls, right? I'm actually going to be gaining meat in my freezer.
Yeah.
So it ends up being, it's a pretty good value, all things considered.
Yep. And I love goose meat for making sausage. I mean, I hate taking a beautiful elk roast and grinding it into sausage. But I'll tell you what, popping a goose into an Italian sausage doesn't affect me whatsoever.
We're going to have to get that recipe.
I was going to say,
I've got a couple of them I'm working on right now.
Yeah,
so
goose pastrami was recommended to us as a go-to. I've done
corned beef too.
I've done the pulled goose.
Yep.
So it's like pulled pork. Yep. I've done it twice. The first time I did it, it was indistinguishable from pulled pork. Like I gave it to friends, family, everybody. They're like, "Oh, this is amazing." Mm-hmm. I'm like, "That's goose." Yep. And they're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "No, I shot those geese like last week." And then I did it again, and it tasted like goose.
Yep.
Like it didn't matter how much barbecue sauce I threw in that bastard. It
tough.
Still smelled like or tasted like a goose.
Yeah. Waterfowl is, I think you get away with it a little bit better with ducks because ducks aren't probably, they're a little milder.
Yeah.
But the goose, because of the thickness of the meat, the redness of the meat, with all that, like the goose is a labor of love. Right, like I jerky a lot of them.
Yep. Yeah, 100%.
Which is
and it's really good jerky.
Oh yeah,
100%. But to get like where you're actually making something more than just like dried out meat, right? Like it's tough. Like and that's why I think a lot of people. My dad always tells a joke. He's like, "Hey, you know how you cook a good goose?" And he's like, you get your potatoes and your cream of mushroom and and your spices, and then you put the goose in there, and then when it's done, you just throw the goose away and then eat everything else. Like. And I'm always like, well, you haven't been taught or given actually well prepared and well cooked meat.
Maybe we have to have another wing of the Western Heritage Cook Club,
the cooking club,
where we have recommended recipes from the owner.
Well, I'll tell you it's a basic recipe: salt, pepper, and about 15 to 20 minutes in a smoker after you stuff your goose sausage. And I will tell you. Best sausage.
Just straight goose, or do you cut it with something?
I put a little bit of pork in it, about 10% pork.
All right.
Yeah.
Pork fat.
With casing?
Yep. And then I'll stuff it into a casing with just salt, pepper, and maybe a dash of garlic, and then just hang it in the smoker for about 15 minutes till that skin gets
taut.
Kind of, tightens up a little bit. And you wouldn't be able to tell that smoked sausage from something you get down at the meat market.
I'm going to have to try that now because I have a sausage maker at home.
Do you?
I have a sausage maker.
I'm not aware of this.
I have a
brand.
Well,
you got that for your birthday or
no,
Christmas
I've had that. I got a brand new grinder. Yeah.
Nice. I'll tell you the biggest problem with geese, and if any of your members have a trick for this, please find me and share.
Yeah. Comment section below.
Getting the steel shot out.
Metal detector.
And I've thought about it. Like I've thought about getting like a little, one of the little pen metal detectors.
Get the little wands.
That was the best sausage ever until you bit into a piece of, number 2 shot steel and you're like losing teeth.
Yeah, I did that. So about 3 years ago, we were still in our old house. We had my extended family over for Christmas. Mm-hmm. I was like, I'm going to make goose for everybody, right? Yep. And they were actually kind of excited about it. I'm like, I actually shot this goose. So they're eating it. And then no sooner did I go, oh, crap, I should probably warn them that there might be shot in here. Then my brother-in-law goes, oh! And he pulls out a pellet. And I was like, yeah, be careful. They might be in there still.
Yep.
Can I have that back?
Yeah, exactly. I need to reload that. Hold on.
Yeah. No, and that's the downfall of, anything with a shotgun pheasant, but that steel shot can be brutal compared to lead, I think.
It's part of it. I think you just have
to. It's not good on the dental work.
No. Not at all.
No. But so let's talk a little bit about looking at the season. Obviously, we're kind of early parts of the season. Yep. Talked a little bit about how you guys go about things. Like what's like how do you determine what your capacity would be like? And people make those reservations 7 days a week, and then moving forward, right? Like you're looking at 7 properties now. In order to maintain that, do you guys have a formula kind of built for that will keep the quality kind of control in order to be able to accomplish that?
Yeah, I mean, with waterfowl, it's kind of easy because you can figure out seats in a blind and say, on average, this property is going to hunt 6 to 8 people. If they fill it, and if we and that's an easy number to look at. Where that formula to me starts getting blurry is in like the big game stuff. Like,
Right.
we know we've all hunted pronghorn and know, you spook a pronghorn, it can move a mile in about 5 seconds.
Right.
And it's
Seems
like,
yeah.
It's like they just went underground and they pop up a mile away and there they are. It's like, so how do you figure that number out to make sure that somebody's not out there? But I can't just give somebody 10,000 acres to hunt on their own.
Right.
Right.
So it's got, and a lot of that comes down to the rules. Like, staying on roads is a big one. Like our property in Wyoming, you can drive your truck on any road you want. You want to put goose decoys out in the field, you got to have an ATV. So, that farmer has a specific rule that we've set in our lease from him.
Sure.
So right now, the formula is not hard to figure out. And as long and knowing that there's going to be some families out there that are going to want to go and hunt on their own, knowing that they may take a pit on their own. Last year we had 13 members, and 6 out of the 13 were a group of guys, and it was like you'd see a reservation came in, and
It was
all
for all
6
of them.
names were there every time.
Boys wanted to go drink some beer and shoot some birds.
Yeah, I mean, they loved it, and they just go out and hunt.
Do you guys have restrictions regarding that? Like, if a bunch of boys want to go out and drink some beers and shoot some birds, is there some rules regarding that?
Well, I mean, during the hunt, absolutely, it's what CPW sets out: no drugs, no alcohol, none of that in the pit. Obviously, with the firearms, we want to be safe and in control of all of that. Afterwards, if they want to, swing over to the local watering hole, and they've done that quite a bit. There's a couple of them out there in Weldona and Wiggins that they like to swing into. Nice. So
now, are you when these guys put in their reservation, do you call the landowner and be like, hey, I got 6 dudes coming out tomorrow? Or
nope.
Is it just assume that if somebody's on that property, they're part of your club?
Yep.
Or they can go over there and say, hey, who you boys with?
Yeah. And I talk to all my landowners up front. We have a good relationship with them, and I say, our members are going to have 2 things. They're going to have a parking pass and they're going to have a membership card. And my ask of you is, if you walk up to them as a landowner, you check their truck for a parking pass. Mm-hmm. If there's not something in there, you call me first, because that's now, as a landowner, they're not responsible for trespassing on our properties. Mm-hmm. And we put that right in the leases because we don't want the landowners to have to deal with trespassing.
Sure, of course.
That's our job. We lease the hunting rights. We didn't lease the ground. We leased the hunting rights to the ground. Mm-hmm. So that farmer still has the right to farm and do everything they want on there.
Right.
And if they want to go make sure that somebody's in the club and correct, I don't have a problem with that. Right. That's making our properties even better because we don't have trespassing on it. Mm-hmm. So, the first thing is check the truck for a parking pass, ask them for their membership card. If they don't have that, call the cops.
Right.
I don't care if they're a member or not. They need to have that on them, and that's their responsibility as a member to show that they're there legally with that landowner.
Right.
So in saying that too, so let's say Jason says, hey, I'm going to buy a membership to the club. And, he obviously gets his parking pass, he gets, his membership card and yada, yada, yada. And how does that work for you guys in terms of him saying like, oh, hey, I'm a member here. Hey, Joel, you want to come with me out to the club? Like, what are you guys' restrictions on that aspect of it, which is, he's a member, but he's like, I'm not going to hunt by myself every day.
Yeah.
And I don't want to hunt with like just random other dudes that I don't know, like guys, everybody that hunts kind of has those kind of dynamics or, so talk a little bit about that and what your policy is on, friends of friends type thing.
Absolutely. So we have 5 guest passes a year, because we assume that if somebody's going to come, especially an in-state person, like they want to come more than 5 times, maybe they ought to just be a member and not a guest at that point.
Sure.
So we 5 times, you get 5 guests a year. No guest may come more than twice unless they're out of state. So let's say Jason has somebody in Seattle that, is a cousin and wants to come down waterfowl hunting for a week straight. He's a member. We'll let him take that guy out. I'm not going to make him get some guy from Washington that's going to hunt 5 times. But we had guys like that group of 6. They had a couple buddies from Illinois last year. They said, can we save all of our guest passes and just hunt for like a week straight with our buddies from Illinois? I'm like, absolutely, go for it. And they used every single one of their guest passes on their buddies.
Right.
And that's that out of state coming in.
Sure.
They
It's not like you have a drop-in fee, right?
No, and we've thought about that. If we didn't achieve the membership we wanted, we've thought about doing that. Where people,
like if you exceed 5 guest pet, like I've used all 5, but I got a buddy of mine's coming out. I want to take him out. Like, can I just give you $50 for the day or whatever?
That's $75 a day past that, and that's limited based on membership.
Right.
Like I'm going to always cater to my membership first.
Sure.
Like I don't care who your buddy is coming in. If he's not one of our 25 members this year, he can sit on the outside and watch you hunt because.
But that would be guiding.
It would. But no, and that, like, we do have that opportunity. Like, we had a fella worked for one of the oil field companies, and he's like, he goes, I have guys that want to go hunting all the time. This is what we do. My company pays for the membership. After I reach my 5, I'm like, as long as the property isn't being overhunted and all of our members have the opportunity to get themselves and their family members into the field, I'll take that 6th one for $75 a pop.
Right.
So, and it's still cheap compared to, an access fee or a guided day.
Right.
Some of the guides are.
Now, along that same vein, what if, someone comes along and says, hey, like, seems like you guys run a pretty good business, so on and so forth, but like, I don't really want to like cross that threshold unless like
a try before you
I want to
buy.
get a little taste here, like, what do you guys do? Or do you do any, like introductory or like outside of it being a non-member who says like, could I come and hunt for a day and, I'd like to explore it. Of course, the try before you buy type situation. Do you guys have anything like that?
The young fella I was telling you about earlier that killed his first goose, that was one of those situations last year. His dad called me up, I don't have a lot of money. I want to get my kid out hunting, thinking about joining, but I want to see what you guys have to offer. And trust me, I did the same thing when I was joining a club. I'm like, I get all of this for $1,600, a year. Like that doesn't seem.
It's like, it's too good to be true.
Yeah. And it's like, I have a 160-acre lake in Wyoming. I can go hunt by myself, camp on the property and spend an entire weekend there.
Right.
So that was a situation. And I said to his dad, I said, come on out. I said, come out to Julesburg. We'll go out hunting. I said, I don't want a dime from you. Meet us out in the field, help us set up decoys and he loved it. Like he's joining this year.
It's a very personal experience. It's not a corporate-y type deal, right? Like that's a good natured, like, hey, if I scratch your back, you scratch my back kind of deal.
Absolutely. And that's what we'll do, and again, like I want to get some youth days going in the club. Like wasn't able to do it this year. Just had severed a nerve when I was building pits out in Julesburg in my finger and just kind of got behind and wanted to do a Veterans Day this year. Wasn't able to pull that off. Still possible, we might do a little, informal thing, but this is the stuff that I want to do with this club. Get people enjoying the outdoors like we all do. Like I've been doing since I've been just a wee little boy, like you did 7 years ago, when we slept in that frigid cold tent together.
That was a Walmart special. God, I remember that. It sucked.
But
Bob had to sleep in the car because he snored and you could freaking hear him.
I remember that.
Yeah. He left his car like idling for hours.
That's right.
And he's snoring and you could freaking hear him in the tent. That's how loud he was.
Yeah. I remember that.
Like the windows. It's like a subwoofer on a car that drives by you. That was him snoring.
There's always one.
There is.
Yeah.
And the one thing I want to do, like everybody said, oh, waterfowl season's short. It's actually really long, and that's one of the reasons we picked up the Wyoming properties. That season came in October 1st this year, and their duck goes till January 24th. And then our duck goes till like January 28th or something like that this year.
Yeah.
I think.
Isn't goose goes a lot longer than
But and then goose goes into February.
Right.
But here's the cool thing is then you have conservation goose. Unlimited snow geese kill.
Yep.
Take the plugs out, as many shots as you want, and it is just
Please tell me we're going to go do that.
Blaster City.
oh yeah. It is fun.
I have killed hundreds of ducks and geese in my life. I have never killed a snow goose.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna make that happen this year, Joel.
Yes. And I drive through, because being from Western Nebraska,
Yep.
I've driven through that corridor literally countless times during,
Well, you've probably driven right by our fields.
100%.
They're right off the Julesburg
I
exit.
guarantee you. I probably know where it is.
Yeah.
Might even know who owns it.
Yeah.
It's very possible. So,
But
yeah.
no, that we went out last year and I had never seen so many snow geese in my life.
Yeah.
I mean, it was sick.
Yeah.
And they weren't playing in our field. And of course, the same owner, he leases to another guy in Nebraska, and we don't have that field. And there must have been 50,000 birds sitting, and we couldn't pull a bird into our
They're
field.
like just on the other side of the road.
Yeah. And I called the guy. I said, the other leaser, and I said, there's birds there. He goes, I'm not hunting. Go blow up the feed. And I was like, really?
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, just walk over there and blow it up. So I walked over, and it was like deafening.
Really?
Like these geese were lifting off of the corn, and it was so
it's like
loud.
a tornado.
Yeah.
And my dog was with me.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, get him up, Blitz. And he's like, which one?
Well, and that's it. Like most people know, like snow geese too are just so high pitched.
Yeah.
I mean, they just squeal.
Uh-huh.
And so take that times, like you said, 50,000, and it's just
it was. I mean, and of course they lift up. I walk out of the field and they sit right back down.
Yeah.
And didn't have a Nebraska license. He's like, kill him. I don't care. We're not out there. So, and that's kind of the cool part of being the owner is, I get to make all these relationships and help out guys. And, there was 2 members with me and it was horrible.
Yeah.
Like we're sitting there watching 50,000 birds landing in the field across from us.
Right.
There's nothing you can do, but
no.
That's hunting.
Yeah.
That's and waterfowl are like notorious for that, right? Like I can't tell you how many times I've been in a blind or in a pit or whatever, and you're sitting there calling, and especially if you do have private land where you're not just like bumping them to the next guy's pit who's another couple hundred yards away. It's like you get a group of 8-10 ducks or something like that, and they light in upriver or just outside of where you're at, and all of a sudden the next thing you know, the next group comes over and they're like, oh, let's go land over there.
Yeah.
And you're just hanging out going like, what the hell do we do now? We're just watching the show over here and you're kind of like handcuffed because you're like, do we have a play? Or worse yet, like we can't even make a play, and
there's been days I've been in that.
They also have an internal clock that works really well.
Oh yeah.
Remember last year we were with Cole up there by on their place, it was 5-10 minutes before shooting light.
Yep.
And they were buzzing around like gnats.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh my God, look at all the ducks. And then it was like 6:35 on the nose, ghost town. Gone.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm like, where'd they all go?
Yep.
Right. And then it was
go
like,
go watch that video on our YouTube page.
I'm like, if it was shooting like 5 minutes ago, we'd be limited before the sun came up.
If you go and watch that video on our YouTube page, I filmed as we're setting up. Like I just filmed because it was, the sky's starting to turn orange. And it's tough with the audio, but like, I mean, it was just the whirling. And then, and they're just
there were
swarming
hundreds of them.
And
then 5 minutes later, ghost town.
Let's be clear though. We did kill, I believe, 21 ducks.
We did get a 4-man limit, and we shot like 6 geese by 11.
That's a good day.
No, we shot more than that. I thought we shot like 12 or
whatever it was.
Second year it was like 22 and 12
there was a lot of
or
jerky
something like
made that night.
Yeah, it was
a lot of
you
jerky.
need to make that double smoked sausage.
Yes.
Right. Yes. So
do snows cook up like that too?
Actually, I think snows eat better than cans.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I've
always heard the opposite.
Yeah, I think somebody told me they were like the rats of the sky.
And I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier, Joel. They're slightly a smaller bird. So I feel like when you prep them, you can get some of those marinades. And,
Right.
and all my birds, I salt brine for almost a week before they ever go in the freezer.
Right.
And that's my grandmother's trick from like old German
Just to
lady.
get all the blood out.
Yep.
Bleed them.
Soak it. I mean, fill it water and salt and just
Right.
and just
Like
keep
the ocean.
Yep. Keep changing that water throughout the week, and it'll eventually turn clear. And then that's when your breasts go in. But so.
Pro
Cooking
tip
tips.
number
Cooking
6.
tips.
Pro tip 64392. Heavy salt brine for a week.
Heavy salt brine.
That's a big
in the
one.
fridge.
So
Keep them in
that's
there.
In the
awesome.
fridge. All right.
Well, where do people? I mean, we've kind of talked about it already, but like, how do people find you? Do you still have memberships this year? How about that?
Yeah. So we are taking a few more.
What's the membership window? Is there like a it's not January 1 to December 31, is it?
We normally start April 1 and then go through, and we do that for leasing purposes because all our leases get paid in like June, July, August. So still have openings for this year. You can find us at whhuntclub.com. Where there is a website. You can find us on Facebook or Instagram. It's at whhuntclub.com on Instagram and Western Heritage Hunt Club on Facebook. Can I throw my phone number out
Do
there?
it if you want.
so
It's your phone number.
It's out there on
Just
the
for
website.
now, just know that your car's extended warranty is about to expire.
It's going to expire.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, my 350,000 mile truck,
That's
I'll take
hey.
any warranty on it. You can reach me at 720-556-5721. Shoot me a text, give me a call there. Definitely.
We'll put all the information in the show notes
100%,
so that you guys can get it. And then we'll post some stuff online, and then hopefully we can get out there with you after you're done shooting elk.
Yeah.
And,
I got one more big hunt this weekend and then a deer hunt next week for third season.
And then it's waterfowl.
Waterfowl.
All right.
So,
Love it.
Well, we'll get out there, shoot some videos so we can put on our YouTube page. That'd
Love
be
it.
great. And go check out some of these awesome properties you got.
sounds great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on and sharing all your stuff. And
Yeah.
thanks for being you, dude. I freaking love you. It's been a long time.
It
So
has been. But
I'm glad that we can reconnect in this world. So we probably should have prefaced this early on. Chris used to train me when I played baseball. Chris was actually my trainer. And that's kind of how we started. Chris played football at St. Francis, right, in Pennsylvania.
Back in Pennsylvania.
And I needed a place to train. And so that's eventually how I got into this. And then eventually, I don't know how you convinced me to go hunting, but
Well, we were fishing a couple
we did go
times.
fishing a lot. And that
And-
was the natural evolution for me.
And then I think I was like, the next step's coming, Jason. Let's
Then I
just
had to
make
go
it
buy a
happen.
rifle
You
and then to buy gear, and that started the downward spiral.
Yeah.
And then he made me buy a bow, and then made me buy more gear.
See?
And here we are sitting there talking about waterfowl and elk and deer and all
Yeah.
kinds
Now
of
we
fun
have like
stuff.
100 decoys in
Yeah.
his shed.
My
Only
shed is-
100?
That's all. You don't need more than that.
Yeah. So again, thank you very much for everything.
Yep.
And again, it's WH, right?
Yep.
Huntclub.com. Check them out on Facebook, Instagram, and join. They still
Yeah.
got memberships. So
Absolutely.
thanks
Yeah.
again for being here. Appreciate
Thanks,
you.
guys. I appreciate it.